Today we are looking at section 5.3. It's very similar to what we were doing yesterday. We are solving inequalities with one step. So one-step inequalities, very similar to one-step equations. Today we're going to look at multiplication and division though. So yesterday was all about addition and subtraction. Today is all about multiplication and division. So these bullet points are basically the same as you wrote down yesterday. The first bullet point you wrote down yesterday was to isolate the variable using inverse operations, so that doesn't change. We're always going to graph our solution, so the last bullet point is exactly what you wrote down yesterday. The one that's different, the one that I want you to make sure that you get in your notes, is that second bullet point, the one that I put a star by. This says you keep your inequality the symbol the same unless you multiply or divide by a negative number. Then you have to flip it. So you know how anytime we multiply or divide by a negative number, we change the sign of what we're multiplying by? Same sort of deal here. So if you multiply like by a -1, you change the sign of the number you're multiplying by. You're also changing the way the symbol is facing. So if it was greater than, now it's less than. If it was less than, now it's greater than. Same thing if it's equal to. Alright, so anytime we multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, we gotta flip the sign. Alright, just like yesterday, we want our line of equality down from our less than symbol. My whole goal is to get the x by itself. So what should I do to get x by itself?
Divide 2 by both sides.
Yes, we want to undo multiplying by 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. That leaves me with 1x, or just x, is less than 6. Now we graph it just like yesterday, so I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Circle the 6. Do I fill it in or leave it open? Leave it open. Good. It's not an or equal to. There's no line underneath my less than symbol. And then I'm going to shade to the left because that's where the numbers are less than 6. Numbers like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and so on. Raise your hand if you have any questions on number 1. We want to start number 2 the same way. So your line of equality goes down from your greater than symbol. How am I going to get x by itself here? Divide both sides by 3. Very good. So that leaves me with 1x, or just x, is greater than 3. Going to graph it, so I need my 0, 1, 2, 3. Circle the 3 on the number line. Fill it in or leave it open? Leave it open. It's not an or equal to, it's just a greater than, so we don't want to fill in the dot at the 3. And then we're talking about numbers that are bigger than 3, greater than 3, so we shade to the right. How am I going to start this one? What am I going to do to get x by itself? Divide by -4. Dividing by a negative. I feel like I wrote something down about this. Anyone remember what we wrote down? You have to flip the inequality symbol. So it was eating the side with a 16. Make it eat the other side, okay? Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, this guy is going to change. So it was less than or equal to, now it's greater than or equal to. And anytime you divide by a negative number, the sign over here is going to change. So it was positive, but what's a positive number divided by a negative number? Should be a negative, and that gives us a 4. So dividing by negatives are going to change a whole lot of stuff here. Same thing with multiplying by negatives. Any questions on why I flipped it or why my answer's negative or anything like that? Alright, to graph this, we'll have the -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. open circle. Do I want to fill it in? Yeah, since it is greater than or equal to, I'm going to fill it in. And then greater than, we shade to the right. Use your answer to figure out which way you're going to shade, not the original symbol. Since we did have to flip it, now you want to graph from your answer, okay? Don't go with the symbol in the problem. Give me the symbol that you're actually graphing. This is what you're graphing, not this. How do I want to start this one? Yeah, here we want to undo dividing. You undo dividing by 4 by multiplying both sides by 4. Do I need to flip anything? No, we multiply by a positive, so no flipping here. Leave the sign the exact same. What's 2 times 4? 8. Very good. So I have my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I want to fill in my circle or leave it open? Fill it in, good. And then greater than, we're going to shade off to the right. Those are where numbers are bigger, like 9, 10, 11, 12. Questions? How should I start this one? What's bothering the x? The 3. I'm dividing by 3. How do I undo dividing? Multiply. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 3. Excuse me, that's the right side. Multiply the right side by 3. You also have to multiply the left side by 3. So on the left, I have 3 times 4. That's going to give me a 12. Don't change your symbol because I multiplied by a positive 3, not a negative. So don't do anything with that guy. And then I have 1x, or just x. Do I want to leave my answer like that? Or do not. I want to write the x in the front, just like yesterday. So x is in the front, 12's in the back. Yeah, I want to write it as a greater than symbol. Think of what was it eating. It was eating the x. The x was the bigger one. It should still be facing the x. The x is still the larger quantity. Questions? Alright, so I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Take a little longer. Do I want to fill in my circle or leave it open? Leave it open, good. And then where are numbers bigger than 12? To the right or to the left? To the right. Again, go by the symbol on your last step. Don't look back to the beginning, because sometimes we move this guy around. Alright, so look right here when you're deciding which way to shade. Raise your hand if you have a question. Alright, let's look at number 6. What do I need to do to get the x by itself? What? Multiply both sides by what? -2. When you multiply by a negative, something should be going off in your head. What is your head telling you? Should be an alarm like ding, ding, ding. Then what? What happens to my inequality symbol when I multiply by a negative? It switches. If it was less than, now it's greater than. Everybody take note of what just happened. It was facing this way. I multiplied by a negative. Now it's facing this way. Did everyone catch that? Alright, and then in the back I have a negative times a negative. So my answer is +6. Very good. We're going to graph that. Start with your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can keep going if you want. Alright, circle the 6. Do I fill it in or leave it open? Leave it open. Good. It's not an or equal to. Looking at your final answer, I want the x's to be larger than 6. Greater than 6 is to the right. Now, remember yesterday we talked about how you could check your work on these? If you want to check your work, just plug in some number from the region that you shaded, like 8. I'm going to plug an 8 in and see if I get a statement that is true. 8 divided by -2 is less than -3. Is -4 less than -3? It is. The more negative you have, the smaller the value of that number. So this checks out. So anytime you're doing a bunch of switching and dividing by negatives and flip-flopping the sign, I would pick a number from your shaded region, plug it in, and see if your answer makes sense. If you're getting like 5 is less than -3, well, you made a mistake somewhere, okay? Probably in your flipping. Questions? Oh, that's a good one. It's a -1 up there. So if it helps you to write a 1, go for it. So what do I want to do to both sides of the equation? Sorry, the inequality. It's already being multiplied by -1, so what do I want to do? Divide by -1. When you divide by a negative, in your head, you should be like, woo, woo. What am I going to do? Flip the inequality. It was greater than or equal to. Now it is less than or equal to. What's 10 divided by -1? -10. Very good. Alright. Let's graph this one. So that'd be -9, -8, -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. Am I going to fill in my circle on -10 or leave it open? Are you sure? Look what I'm pointing to. This is less than or equal to. When it's or equal to, that number is included. So we want to fill in that circle. And then less than is to the left. What are your questions? Alright, let's check out number 8. How should I do this one? Divide both sides by 4. That leaves me with 2 is greater than x. Is that how I want to write my answer? No, I want the x in the front and the 2 in the back. So the big mouth of my symbol is eating the 2. What should it be eating now? The 2. The 2 was bigger. The 2 is still bigger. You're just writing it with the x in the front. You didn't multiply by a negative. You didn't divide by a negative. You're not changing any of the values. You're just rewriting the direction that it's written, or the order that it's written in. So you have to make sure that the inequality symbol is still facing the right numbers. Okay, it was showing that our 2 was bigger. It should still be showing that the 2 is bigger. Here we have 0, 1, 2. It's not an or equal to, so I'm going to leave that circle open. The x is the smaller one, so less than is to the left. All right. You don't need to write 9 and 10 down. We went 1 through 8 in your notes yesterday, right? All right. We'll keep that same pattern going. So just follow along with me on the board. You don't need to worry about writing this in your notes. How should I start this one? Subtract what? 6. Very good. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So x is less than or equal to what? What's 3 minus 6? -3. Very good. Now, some students get carried away with the flipping. If your answer is negative, that does not mean flip the inequality symbol. Okay, the only time you flip it is if you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number. We didn't even multiply or divide by anything in this problem, so do not get flipping crazy. That sounded kind of funny, didn't it? Flipping crazy. Don't get crazy flipping your sign here. It's not like every time you see a negative number, you flip it. Some students get a little carried away. All right, now we want to graph it. Since it is an or equal to inequality, I'm going to fill that circle in. And less than is to the left, so shade to the left on your number line. Any questions on number 9? All right, and here's number 10. Again, this is one where students would flip when they don't need to flip, okay? When you go through this problem, you are dividing both sides by what? +8. Again, you are dividing by a +8, so don't flip the sign. Even though your answer is negative, even though the right side was negative the whole time, nothing happens to this symbol because what you divided by was positive. All right? Again, don't get flipping crazy. All right, circle your -2. We're going to leave it open because it's not an or equal to. And I'm going to shade to the right because I want the numbers that are greater than the -2. Raise your hand if you have any questions. All right, you already have your homework for today. So get that worksheet out from yesterday. You should have, I believe, 1 through 8 already done. Finish the rest. So 9 to 24 is what you need to finish between now and Monday. If you get it done, throw it in the bin. Somebody, I forgot who it was, told me they did it last night. I would go back and double check the flipping when you're multiplying or dividing by a negative because that's really the only thing that was new today.
It's over here.
Any questions?